Thank you, Chairman Maloney and Ranking Member Gibbs, and thank you all in the panel for being here today. I'd first like to thank you, Admiral Schultz, for the important work and sacrifice the brave men and women of the Coast Guard make every single day. As you know, the Coast Guard has been invaluable to my district in southern West Virginia, performing the dangerous search and rescue missions and saving many lives. We all agree that it is important that the Coast Guard has the resources needed to continue to perform their duties while using our taxpayer money both efficiently and effectively. Admiral Schultz and Master Chief Vanderheyden, what major capital investments are needed most to maintain the Coast Guard's readiness? Is it the Coast Guard's airborne fleet ready to meet the search and rescue challenges facing the inland parts in our country?
Congresswoman, good to see you, ma'am. Thanks for those words of gratitude for your Coast Guard men and women in West Virginia. And Congressman Lowenthal, thank you as well for the work in the men and women in Los Angeles. Congresswoman, I would say, as I testified in my opening statement, our number one capital investment, acquisition priority is that offshore patrol cutter, because that will be the backbone of the fleet. We're continuing to build national security cutters. We're continuing to build fast response cutters. We've taken acceptance of 34 on a program of 58 on the latter, the fast response cutter. It's in terms of your question about airborne fleet and search and rescue work. We're flying what we call MH-65 Dolphin helicopters, an aerospace shell product. We got 98 of those. We will fly those, and we've already flown those further than others. We'll continue to fly those into probably 30,000 plus hours. We're in a similar situation with our MH-60 Blackhawk helicopters, with their Jayhawks and the Coast Guard variant. We're going to fly those. We're watching closely what the Department of Defense is doing with future vertical lift. We have some service life extension programs in mind for our 60 helicopters. That is something that, because those dates seem to get pushed out, it has my attention, my vice commandant as an aviator. We're watching that closely. But we've got a plan here through this current decade. As we get into 2030, we're really going to be keenly focused on, just how far we can stretch those out. But right now, I'm comfortable where we're at, but we've got to start really putting together a long-term strategy on how we're going to do our air assets on the rotary side. Fixed wing, we're continuing to field with the support of the Congress C-130Js. We're upping the missionization of our C-27 medium range long aircraft, and that's going to be a good airplane. We got we got 14 of those transferred to us, but we're playing some catch up on the sustainability, the missionization, but we're getting there. So I'm encouraged on where we are with our air fleet, but we got some challenges sort of a decade plus down the road, ma'am.
Good. Mr. Vanderheyden, do you have anything to add?
I would say that our aviation career fields are very popular. We have no problem finding people that want to fly in our Coast Guard aviation assets, and our folks do a magnificent job keeping them, available and ready. We put more hours on them than any other branch of the service, and that is a testament to the quality of work that our folks do, especially down in Elizabeth City. So I thank you for your concern for our aviation readiness. We've been very fortunate. We put a lot of effort into our safety, and we've had very few aviation mishaps because our folks try really hard. Our air stations can use some help out in Hawaii. As we get the C-130J, they're a little longer. They don't fit in the hangar so well, so we could use some help there. But by and large, I very much appreciate the plan that the Commandant and our leadership team put together to transition our aircraft.
Another quick question.
If I could, just one follow-on. One thing we are trying to do is that there are no more Dolphin helicopters, MH-65s, built in the world. So that fleet, is in a different situation. 60s, we have an ability called the Sundown program. We get low-hour aircraft that the Navy put out in the desert, and for about $14 million, we can take that airframe at our Aviation Logistics Center in Elizabeth City and basically bring that into service for long service life ahead. So with some of the supplemental fundings and recent hurricane supplementals, we've actually bringing 3 on board. My intention would be wherever we have the chance to bring some of those former Sundowner hulls on board and offset some of our Dolphins with 60s, that's the bridging strategy. We're going to transition Borinquen in the near future from a 65 air station to a 60. So sorry for the recline, but that's an important point I left
You
out
just
there.
used up a lot of time. I also wanted to ask you about the major role that you all play in seizing the illegal and dangerous drugs flowing into our country. Has the Coast Guard seen an increase in the seizure of drugs other than cocaine and fentanyl?
Congresswoman, most of our efforts are in the transit zone, the area between the Indian Ridge where the drugs, cocaine is produced, and reaching the United States shore. So we predominantly are thwarting that cocaine threat. I think if you look across government writ large, I wear what they call the Interdiction Committee hat. You know, opioid use, methamphetamine use, those type of uses are all in the upswing. Where we focus our efforts is really on the cocaine threat, and last year was a slight downtick from the previous year. I think are explainable with some of our assets pulled off for hurricanes, but we're on trajectory this year for more than probably 450,000 pounds of uncut cocaine interdicted again, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank the gentleman. Mr. Larson.